This is the McCulloch Pro Max 610. It's an old chainsaw made from the 70s up to 1999. I just got, I was having a little problem with the oiler. It would leak out most of the oil overnight, and it's been like that for a long time. And I was thinking, whoa, maybe I got to take this damn thing apart and see what's going on. Maybe the oil tank is not sealed to the case right, and I got to reseal that or something, or there's a crack in the oil case. Or I'll tell you the truth, I know about this is the oiler pump, which is attached. There's your manual oiler right here, and this screw right here adjusts your oil, automatic oiler, right? And there's a check ball inside of here, and I heard you really can't rebuild these things. You got to buy a new one. Now, if I had to rebuild this thing, what I was going to do if this thing was messed up, it turned out I did something and it worked. But if it was messed up, I would let this stuff soak in starting fluid or something like that to free up that check ball and try to work it back and forth. That's what I would do. I would not try to disassemble it and then try to push some maybe kerosene or Marble Mystery Oil through it till it all freed up. That would probably work. That's kind of a redneck trick. Now, I just filled up the oiler and it's staying nice and full. See that? And before, it was running out. Now, what I read online, I know there's people out there that are purists and they say only use bar oil. And actually, a lot of these people that run chainsaws all the time, which I'm not a guy that does that, because I didn't use this in a while, that's why it's got a little messed up. They just use any oil available pretty much. They use like straight 30 weight, straight 40 weight, or 1030 if it's really cold out. So I had some 1540 diesel oil. The main priority is that the oil is clean. You don't want to use used motor oil. Now, me being cheap, what I would probably do for used motor oil is run it through a couple of cotton cloth filters and get all the dirt out of it. And as long as it doesn't have dirt thick enough to cause this check valve to freaking screw up, no problem. Now, another thing they say is to keep a paintbrush around with you so you can wipe up around here, because if you get some sawdust down in there, that causes a clog in the line, especially that check ball. Now, what I did was I loosened this and I tightened it again. I put it in exact back in the same position again. I figured that might jar that check ball. Maybe the check ball was, I don't know what the hell was wrong with it, but I figured that might move the check ball in there. I moved this adjustment screw in and out. I put it right back in the position it was from the factory. Then I cracked all four of these after I cleaned all around here with engine starting fluid, so I didn't get any crap by the gasket surface. And after I cracked this open, I pressed the manual oiler, a few times, and you can see it. There it is. See, it's working. And it's not leaking out. So everything on this damn thing is working. I'm not even exactly sure what the hell I did. It was so simple. I thought it was going to be a problem where I was going to have to, like, to take this oiler off, you don't have to split the cases, but you got to take, a lot of stuff off. You got to take the recoil thing off of here, the clutch assembly, the bottom plate. Pretty much you got to disassemble this saw, except for taking off, which is not that complicated if you take apart cars, but still it's a pain in the ass to, this was a dirt cheap simple fix. I'm not exactly sure what the hell I did. Now, I did run, this is something else I did put Marble Mystery Oil in the tank. Somebody said to try to run kerosene in these things if you got a problem with either the filter, the pickup being screwed up, or the check ball not working. I did fill this up with my Marble Mystery Oil, which I have a gallon of over there, see? So, filled it up with that. Now that was sitting in here for the last couple of days, so that might have had might have done something too. So I don't know, whatever the hell I did, it's either filling up the tank with Marvel Mystery Oil, and somebody suggested using kerosene and doing some light trimming, real not heavy duty cutting, but just light trimming to get it to work through. And I use Marvel Mystery Oil, and then I loosened and tightened this bolt and put it back in the same position. That's the oiler adjuster. I cleaned off everything all around in here real good, and I cleaned all this around here, and I cracked open the 4 bolts on here and just lifted this up and pressed the oiler, and I saw squirt, 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 and I said, well, it's working. Clamped it back down, squirt, 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 it's coming out the hole, so it's working. Not 100% sure what the hell I did, but if you have a problem with these oilers, the first thing I would suggest, probably not even using the kerosene. I know the kerosene's probably cheaper, but well, the price of kerosene today is ridiculous. Use the Marvel Mystery Oil, sort of like kerosene in a way. It's a cleaner. Put it in the oil tank, try running it a little bit on some light stuff, and try pressing your manual oiler. If the thing's pumping, I don't know. And now I got this filled up, there's nothing leaking out the bottom. I don't know how the hell it fixed itself. I don't know why it was leaking out the bottom. I don't know exactly why. I just cleaned all around in here, filled it up with Marvel Mystery Oil, ran it a little bit, let it sit a couple days with the Marvel Mystery Oil in it. Most of the Marvel Mystery Oil ran out of it. You know, the tank was almost empty, which I know it would run out of it because it's too thin. That's another reason. And then I just pull this off, you know, the little top plastic cover, and you know, turn this out and in a few times, put it back in the same position it was. That's the automatic oiler. Then I crack these 4 bolts, crack this open. I know probably should put another gasket on there, but really it doesn't seem like there's any leak in there at all, because I cleaned all this out with starting fluid before, so I wouldn't get a piece of sawdust under the gasket when I clamped it back down. Hit the manual oiler a few times. I saw oil coming out over here. I says, well, let me clamp this back down again. Hit the manual oiler. It's coming out the side like it's supposed to, and the oil tank is no longer leaking stuff all over the ground. Before, I would fill it up and it would just, I mean, I'm not talking about Marvel Mystery Oil, regular 30 weight, 40 weight oil. And from the guys that do the chainsaws, a lot of these guys say they don't freaking use bar oil. I've seen people on the internet scold me and say, yeah, you should use bar oil, and I heard other shit, you know. But I'm looking online, I'm seeing these people that professionals are using like 30 or 40 weight, depending on the temperature, straight weight. And if it's really cold, they use 1030. That's some diesel 1540. I filled it up. I don't use this saw that much. I'm probably going to get one that's like a medium heavy saw, because this one's kind of a monster to just cut some little stuff up with. I got a 16-inch electric pole saw. I used to have a 16-inch McCulloch I gave to my uncle a million years ago, and I kept this because I don't really use them that much. I might get something that's kind of like an intermediate rancher type, farm boss, whatever the hell, or maybe an Echo Timberwolf, whatever the hell you call those, whatever the hell that is. But that's what worked, man. To try it out. I mean this was like the least labor intensive thing I've done in a long time. I was like, wow, that's pretty freaking neat. So fixed. I don't know exactly how it worked. Maybe it was the Marvel Mystery Oil, giving it a couple days, finally fixed that check ball. And the other thing is, you could possibly have a clogged filter down there. That's one thing. That's why you definitely always want to brush it. I'm going to do that in the future. You always want to brush around here with get the sawdust out. And probably, you know, one of the things you might want to do is maybe fill this up with Marvel Mystery Oil, let it sit a while, and then dump it out, or even fill it up with kerosene or something and dump it out. because that may unclog that filter. You know, just fill it up in there, then dump it out. You know, that might unclog that filter without having to try to fish through there and try to get that filter. The other thing is you can have a broken hose from that filter to here, and sometimes the oil tank could be cracked, or it could have a bad seal to the case. I was thinking that was the problem. Turns out that's not the problem. I'm not sure how this damn thing got fixed, but it's fixed. Boy, that was easy. So I figured I'd pass this on. There you go. Yeah, the automatic oiler is working